Hi everybody, I'm Joey Paul and I'm an indie author, and this is the final random booktube video of January. Today we're going to be talking about starting a series, and I've got some questions that I've been asked that I wanted to answer. So the questions I get asked are like, how do I know my idea is big enough for a series? How do I plan a series? How long does it need to be? Do I need to do the end before I start? And so on and so on. So I thought I'd go through each of these in turn and answer your questions. Number one, how do I know my idea is big enough for a series? To be honest, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you start with an idea and you don't realise it can be a series until you're halfway through or near the end. But the way you can find out is you can look at the overall plot. Is it something that needs more than one book for the main arc, like a trilogy? Is it something that needs, to get to the end, you're going to either have to write a really, really massive book, or you can spread it into 3 books and cover the main arc with each book still standing alone on its own? Is it something that could be a series or a trilogy or a duology? Is it something that could be a series of standalones within the same universe, like with the Dying Thought series? I had ideas for a book, but I always planned to make it a series, but it was an idea that could stand alone and then carry on through the same universe and follow Tara's life. If any of those points you've said yes to, congrats, you've got a series. How do you plan a series? Like you plan every other book. You plan from however you plan them, whether I start with chapter plans, I start with an idea and I go to chapter plans, I go to character notes. When I was planning Dying Thoughts, because it was a standalone and they stay within the same universe, I planned each book the same way I planned any other book. I planned with the chapter plan, with the synopsis, with going into detail about what I wanted to happen in the book, and then I went to the characters. Like with character notes, I made sure that every single character I created had their own card, so that even if I only ever used them once, I at least knew what they looked like and what they sounded like and what they were there for if I ever had to go back to them. And that really helped me a lot in times when I was writing the last few books, because I'd go back to old characters and think, I haven't spoken about them, this is the second book, how So thankfully with character notes that carried all the details, I was able just to flick through and go, okay, this is what they look like, this is what they do. Now if you're plotting an arc, then you need to know which book will move the plot forward and how. Like with the Lights Out series, or Lights Out trilogy even, the first book is setting the scene, the second book is starting the revolution, and the final book I haven't yet worked out, but I know that it will be the ending of the plot. You need to know which scenes need to happen if you're plotting an arc. So you need to know when the confrontation happens, when the realization of the protagonist that this is needing to be done happens, and you need to make sure it's not just a long story with too many fillers, because that can happen. You can still think, well, this needs 3 books, and actually no, it doesn't. It needs 2 or 1, and it can be told easily without having too many fillers in the middle. But that's something that maybe you don't pick up until the editing stage, in which case you may find out that you haven't got a trilogy, you've got a duology, or you haven't got a duology, you've got a book, which is annoying, yes, but that's the way it goes. In planning standalones, you approach each new book as a new idea, but it has to stay within the rules of the universe. So like with the Dying Thoughts First Touch obviously tells a different story to Dying Thoughts Second Sight, but they stay within the same universe and they have the same rules of the same universe. So therefore, when you're planning a series, you're planning each book as if you would plan every other book. Number 3, how long does a series have to be? That is completely up to you. Some books are better as long series, like Harry Potter or Dying Thoughts or Game of Thrones. Some books are better as trilogies, like Hunger Games or Lights Out, or other trilogies that I cannot think of just yet. Some go on forever with no end, and that can really work if you're dealing with a universe where you look from different perspectives but everything stays in the same universe, then it can go on with no end. That doesn't work for me, because I got to the point with the Dying Thoughts series where I thought, no, if I keep going it's going to get too ridiculous and I'm going to jump the shark, so I stopped. It all depends on your overreaching arc and how you plan them. To be honest, it really does just depend on how you plan and how you decide if there is an overreaching arc. Like for me, the overreaching arc in Dying Thoughts was that Tara eventually left school and moved on to the police, which I did do, just not in the way I thought I was going to do it. So, number 4, do I need to know the end before I start? Yes and no. If it's an overreaching arc, you should have some idea of the end before you start. Like with Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling knew the ending. She just didn't know everything that happened in the middle. Well, she knew some of it, but not all of it. Otherwise, you may find that they don't blend well together, and you may find that you have to put a lot of action in one book to make up for not having enough action in the other. In the Dying Thoughts series, I knew how it was going to end, or at least I knew what the end of the story was going to be, but I didn't know how I was going to get there, and I didn't know that it was going to take me 8 books and not 5. So, in standalones though, you don't really need to know the end. Not always. Like I said with the Dying Thoughts, I knew the end, but it's not a needful thing. If you don't know the end of your series and it's a standalone series, it's not the end of the world. So, yeah. But it is a good idea to have some idea of where you're going. But it's not essential to know where you're going when you start planning. If you do know where you're going, and in like a trilogy, then it is a good idea to have some idea of where you're going. If you don't, then that doesn't mean that you can't write this series. It just means that maybe you need to do more planning before you start putting pen to paper. Having said that, when I started Lights Out, I didn't realise it was going to be a trilogy. I thought it was going to be one book, and I thought it was going to go a completely different way than it's actually gone. And it was only as I was writing the book that I realised actually that this character wouldn't do this. She wouldn't do it this way, she would do it completely differently, and the way I've written her and the way I've grown to know her tells me that if I do this, then it's going to be a disservice to her characterisation. So I had to change it, and in changing it, a trilogy was born. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, you can get in contact with me on Twitter, on Facebook, on Tumblr, on Goodreads. My books are available on Amazon in a paperback and ebook, and you can grab them now. And don't forget to check out the Dark Side of Fiction 2017 event, which is where I will be signing books. And of course, you can subscribe to my channel, all the links for which are below now. Thanks for watching. Bye!